Good morning, everyone. Excited to be here with you on Friday. We have 3 bill introductions this morning. And then after the floor, we are going to talk about EMS provider taxes and other provider taxes in general. And it's actually not after the floor, it's 10:30. So if the floor ends before 10:30, go forth and enjoy your extra 5 minutes of your life. And with that, Representative Conlon, I believe you've brought a bill similar to this for us a few years now, and I'm excited to hear about this new one.
All right. Well, to preface it, there are a few bills that can make an absolute difference in the lives of Vermonters. This is one of them. This is actually, so to really give you the origin story, the bill today is actually a resurrection of a bill from 2011 that my predecessor proposed, but also didn't go anywhere. So here's the issue. Right now on the books, the law is that for listers in towns, that you treat basically camping trailers, large camping trailers, what they call travel coaches, as real property for property tax purposes if they're parked for more than 180 days. So if you've got a large campground where these things are parked year round, you have to go out and assess them. You have to then send tax bills that may be less than $50 to people who generally you can't find and don't pay them. And then you're stuck having to go through a tax sale on something that nobody wants to buy. So it's kind of a lose proposition. So one of the towns that I represent has a big one, and they said, we're really tired of doing this. Can we make a change? The simple solution is to say, well, we won't call them real property if they're in a seasonal campground that closes for more than 185 days a year. So that would really eliminate pretty much all the problem. This year, I have come to learn that the town, Salisbury, was really one of the last towns that actually did this. And they said, yeah, the law's still on the books, but now we found out that we're the only ones still doing it, so we're not doing it anymore. So probably the cleaner solution is to just get rid of the law altogether. Since nobody's following it and nobody's doing it. However, this is just another way of addressing the problem.
I was going to ask you, Representative Conlon, why you are the only legislator that has ever come to us with this problem. And now I understand that it was just your town that was still sort of following. Well,
if you go to the legislative bill search or even just Google and you do travel coaches in Vermont, there have been other attempts by other legislators from other areas of Vermont in the past, but I suspect those quietly went away as they just simply stopped doing it.
I feel really excited that we have H480 that left this committee and left the House and is over in the Senate, because I think that these sort of inconsistencies in what's considered real property and listing procedures and all of that might be a nice home for your trailer coach.
Absolutely.
And some of the inconsistencies.
Yes. And I also, when I first proposed a different version of this last year, I talked with the folks at Property Valuation, and they were all in favor of getting rid of this because they said it's a hassle. There's no money in it for the state, and it's not worth it. Yeah.
Any other questions or thoughts for Representative Conlon here? Yeah.
You need a motion. Are we premature on?
I think we're a little premature. Thank you so much, though.
Okay.
I think we'd have to take legislative council tell us about the bill. But I appreciate your spirit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Friday.
Well, this has been magical. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you spending this time with us.
I do appreciate your consideration of it.
And hats off to your lister for being such a rule follower.
Yes. Well, and been lobbying for this since at least 2011.
And I'm sorry, our
unsuccessfully
has not been more responsive to it in the past, but I think we have a really great path forward.
All right. Excellent. Thank you all very much.
Representative Peterson.
Yes.
Join us.
Thank you very much.
I believe we've all received a decent quantity of email on this bill, so I'm glad for you to tell us about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for having me. For the record, Representative Barb Peterson, Rutland District 2, Clarendon, Wallingford, West Rutland, and a part of Rutland Town. The history of this is quite short. I was contacted actually by a family member who buys silver and gold and goes to New York to do so. And he does that because they exempt after the first $1,000 purchase, the purchase of silver and gold. So this bill, which is quite short, as you can see, really gets in line with New York and Mass in that it taxes the first $1,000 of purchase, but after that, the purchase of these precious metals is tax-free. And that really is the bill. Now, I've got a few bills out there that I put out, and this is one. And I've gotten more back from more people on this bill than any I've had in support. So just a little background that way. I do think that, and I know that people are going out of state to buy these things because of the tax problem. Can this generate more revenue in that more people will buy over $1,000 worth, so you get the tax on the 1,000 that will make up for the rest? I'm not sure. That would be your study to do, I guess, but that's basically the bill.
Is it just gold bricks or is it gold jewelry?
It is defined as using the subdivision bullion shall not include precious metals that have been assembled, fabricated, processed, or manufactured for industrial, professional, aesthetic, or artistic uses.
Like chunks of gold.
I think so. That's what I envision.
Representative Bodie?
Thank you. Why would you make it at 1,000 or more? Why not if you buy any amount?
That could be. I mean, if that way you lose all the tax revenue from anything get bought. This aligns with surrounding states. That's why I chose to stick with 1,000.
Okay,
That's the biggest thing.
thank you.
So I just want to make sure I understand on page 2, the language here. So they're just talking about a coin that's value is based on the gold or silver content. So if you had like, I don't know, some rare gold coin from the 19th century, the value is because of rarity, not because of the gold in it, then that sale would still be subject to sales tax? Is that how that would work?
I don't know. That would have to be
Let's counsel.
fleshed out, I
Okay,
think.
all right.
And then so usually we talk about exempting sales tax on things that cost less than something, not more than something. So we're having a debate about how maybe we should apply the sales tax to clothing that's more than $150, but not less than 150. So I guess I'm trying to get my head around why we would, someone who's able to buy $1 million worth of gold bullion would not pay sales tax, but someone who can only buy $100 worth of gold bullion would pay sales tax.
Again, to align with the surrounding states, that was the goal of it. That would discourage the large purchases of gold. This would encourage it,
Okay.
in my opinion.
And why do we want to encourage large purchases?
To round out a portfolio, someone's retirement portfolio, allow them to encourage the purchase of these items.
Thanks. Anyone else? Thanks so much for.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I'm messing.
Maybe it's not a question for you, but for tax or something like that. How frequently does it happen that there are reports of purchase and sale of gold and silver?
I'm not sure. I've had a couple folks in the industry reach out to me. They like the bill, want to know more about it, why it came into being. And I explained to them what I explained to you.
Curious to know what
Well, you hear ads all the time for the purchase of gold, for one thing, not the others as much, but
Great.
I think people are doing it.
Thank
And
you.
I think they do it as part of their portfolio. Thank you.
And then do they keep the gold in their houses or does it like stay at the investment house? Is it like,
I've heard they go under mattresses, but I'm
Okay.
not positive of that.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
They don't sleep well if they have too much of it.
No, little Princess and the Pea kind of thing happening.
Thank you.
Love that story. Thank you.
Yeah.
Representative Henga.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Schedule, so you're welcome to the time.
Thank you for having me. Representative Lisa Hango, Franklin 5. Madam Chair and Committee, thank you for the opportunity to introduce to you today H-255, a bill seeking to exempt military pensions and survivors' benefits from Vermont state income tax. Vermont has just under 42,000 military residents, but as of 2021, only 3,927 of whom are retirees. 50.3% of those are retired National Guard or reserves. Over the past 5 years, that number has remained static despite 80 new National Guardsmen who retire each year. There are also 741 survivors, spouses and dependents, who resided in Vermont as of 2021. Currently, retired military members and survivors pay Vermont state income tax on their pension or survivors' benefits, except for the first $10,000 of pension income. They cannot earn above $50,000 individually or $65,000 jointly. And at retirement age, they must choose to take a tax exemption on either their military benefits or their Social Security benefits. They cannot be exempt from both, even though the average age for military retirees is 38 to 42 years old, and they likely have a long civilian career ahead of them. Please note that National Guard and Reserve members cannot collect retirement until they hit age 60. So they need to remain employed for those 20 plus additional years. During this second career, they will contribute to Social Security and pay state income tax, sales tax, local options tax, rooms and meals tax, and property tax in Vermont. Retirees also come to Vermont trained with specific skill sets that complement our workforce needs and can make immediate contributions to employers. These families settle in our communities, providing critical workforce in highly skilled positions, civic engagement in our municipalities, attendance in our schools, and they often are accompanied by spouses and significant others who contribute in all the same ways to the workforce and economies of our state. These individuals have a proven work ethic, are committed leaders in our communities, and may be eligible for federal benefits such as health care coverage at no burden to the state of Vermont. In FY20, the military brought in $257 million, including Department of Defense and Veterans Administration compensation, survivors benefits, compensation and pensions, vocational rehabilitation, and educational benefit payments, inclusive of $85 million in retiree pay. Contrary to what was passed in Vermont last session, 3 states moved to increase the amount of their allowed exemption to 100% with no requirement to choose between a military pension exemption and a Social Security income exemption. Oklahoma, Rhode Island, and South Carolina, bringing the total to 47 states that offer more than Vermont does for military retirees. I'm sure many of you know of a retired military household that has recently moved to another state or is thinking about doing so. Additionally, my research shows that there are several new partial exemptions that went into effect in 2022: Delaware, Georgia, New Mexico, and Virginia. All but Delaware have varying degrees of graduated tax policy to allow time to determine alternate forms of funding to replace lost tax revenue. These 4 states, along with 43 other states, all have more generous exemptions than Vermont's $10,000 exemption, and none have income tax caps or the requirement to choose between exemptions at retirement age. Vermont is ranked squarely at number 1 in terms of the worst states for military retirees to live in, according to the latest rankings by Wallet Hub. Thank you for taking the time to hear about this important bill to honor military retirees and their families for their service and to grow our Vermont workforce. Any questions?
Paragraph or two back, you said something about time to explore alternatives. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Sure. So 4 states in 2022 passed some new partial exemptions, and those states were Delaware, Georgia, New Mexico, and Virginia. All of them except Delaware, so the 3 other states, all have varying degrees of graduated exemptions
Okay.
up to a certain year when it becomes a full exemption. And that gives the state time to figure out what they're going to do to replace that lost tax
Okay.
income.
Thank you.
This is sort of an unusual question, but is there always a parallel bill in the Senate on this? I know that you always have.
There is,
Okay,
yes, and the number
I won't even remember the number if you tell me.
is, okay, I think it's S-118, but I can check on that and let you know.
Senator Collins.
Okay,
Yes, yep,
I'm just asking because we did pass out of the House last year and it was the Senate who did that Social Security,
right,
whatever we want to describe it.
yes.
Yeah, so I was just sort of wondering if there's ever.
Yes, there is.
If there's ever any momentum on the Senate side on this one.
I believe it's identical language, and if you don't mind me saying, I can tell you that 16 senators signed that bill, so it has really strong bipartisan support. And in the House, we had a vast majority of members sign on to this bill. So there is quite a lot of support.
And it started a little bit early, so not when you hear. Do you want to join and share anything, or are you just?
I apologize, I thought we were somewhere at 9:20, so I got here and I'm just.
Yeah, no, it's fine, it's us, yeah.
Thank you for that. Without hearing what Rep. Ango said fully, I guess I'd probably be unqualified to give you further, Madam Chair. But I fully support, I know what her remarks were going to be overall, and I fully support. I mean, I can say some words if you.
No, you are, no, I'm just, no, we don't need to pile on.
Say, but you probably don't have time for them, so.
Representative Bodie?
I was just wondering if you could send out your written remarks.
Yes, I will. I'll send it to your committee assistant ASAP.
Anyone else? Thanks so much for joining us, really appreciate
Thank you
it.
much for having me. Have a very nice weekend.
You too.
Thank you very much. I will.
Oh, you too.
Okay, we are done until
30.